Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Scott Luton and Billy Taylor with here right here on Supply Chain Now. Billy, how we doing today?
Great, Scott. How about yourself? It's a
Oh,
happy Friday.
absolutely. It's been a great week, and we get to cap off this week of programming, reconnecting with the one and only Billy Taylor, who we talked about in the pre-show. You've got a growing fan club, and all of our team members are a big part of it. But we've really enjoyed our collaboration with you on this manufacturing leadership series, which of course we conduct in partnership with our friends at the Association for Manufacturing Excellence. So great to have you back, Billy.
Well, it's great to be here, Scott. I get excited just to know that the show's coming and just the interaction with the audience behind the scenes. So I really enjoy you having me here and feel honored to be here with the team.
Outstanding. Well, so from your earlier appearances, I think I've written a 127 page book thus far on leadership best practices and manufacturing best practices. But you know what? There's more. Just wait. There's more because we've got a big guest here today. We're going to be welcoming in Ellis Jones with the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company momentarily. But excited about that. Excited to have you back. And we're talking manufacturing, one of our favorite topics here today. Now, for all three of you that may not know Billy just yet, he's a member of the board of directors with AME. He also leads his own consulting practice. So, and he also spent a big chunk of his career working with Goodyear, where he led, as I recall, Billy, manufacturing for all of North America. And I believe you served as chief diversity and inclusion officer as well during your time there. Is that right?
That is correct.
All
Yes.
right. So been there, done that, and you're going to also hear from Billy, and I bet Ellis too, a great sense of humor, which has been important to maintain throughout these challenging times. So great to have you back. Okay, so Billy, before we get into the heavy lifting, let's make a few announcements real quick, and then we'll also welcome everybody that's joined in the skyboxes, as we call it. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, so got to pay the bills a little bit here. So we want to invite all of y'all to join us for one of our upcoming webinars slated for August 18th, 12 noon Eastern Time, where you're going to hear from a company about their digital first direct-to-consumer brand, their omni-channel evolution. Quip is the name of the company. And Billy, I'm new to Quip, but my wife Amanda, who of course Amanda and Jade and Claire behind the scenes making it happen from a production standpoint, Amanda's a big fan of Quip. Have you heard of Quip, Billy?
No, I haven't. This is new to me as well.
Well, it is evidently they have been on quite the move, and they have been creating very passionate fans of a variety of their products, but especially modern day toothbrushes and dental healthcare products. So learn from those that, I think it's always neat to benchmark companies that do create raving fans, and we can all learn how to do some of that on our own, right?
That's right. I'm gonna have to look them up. That sounds interesting for myself as well.
I'm with you. Hey, whatever it takes to get our kids to brush their teeth.
Yes.
Once once we can find some products that guarantee that, hey, that's the next big business idea. But hey, join us August 18th, 12 noon for a great webinar there. And then also, some of the big questions we get here at Supply Chain Now regularly is, hey, how can I advance in my career, or how can I find a job? So one of the ways we wanted to start answering those questions more effectively is assemble a panel of experts that can really speak to those questions and help. And so on July 29th, just a couple weeks around the corner, we've assembled this great panel: Maria, Crystal, Mark, Rodney, and Peter. It's going to be spending about 3 hours with registrants for this free session focused on career advancement and finding a job and professional development, you name it. So join us for that. Billy, you may know Mark Preston there. I believe y'all two are on the board, right?
Absolutely. There's a couple of names that are familiar on that list there. So that should be a very exciting session. And it's a need for what's happening in our business communities today for young business professionals and also experience. So that too looks exciting to be a part of.
Agreed. I tell you, this is a great panel. I look forward to taking lots of notes from this group here. Okay, and I think the link for both those first webinars are in the show notes, so y'all check that out. Of course, we also are pleased to serve as the exclusive virtual host for the digital version of the Supply Chain Insights Global Forum, or Global Summit rather, in September 7th through the 9th. The in-person version is going to be there in Franklin, Tennessee. where Laura Cesari is going to be holding court with some of the movers and shakers across supply chain. And join us for the virtual version. It requires registration. You can learn more at supplychaininsightsglobalsummit.com. And then one last thing we'll touch on, and we'll touch on this at the end of today's live stream as well, Billy, is, hey, the AME Everywhere International Conference 2021, which I know is circled on your calendar. That's coming up in October, right?
Yes, that is. And it's actually building to be a very, very educational and practical experience. So I'm actually now in the process of putting a employee resource group operating system workshop for the event. So we were working on that. So it's going to be an exciting event. I've been looking at some of the speakers and the content. It's going to be a really, really good international conference.
Love it. Look forward to that. You can learn more. Anyone can learn more at ame.org. Networking, training, hearing from some of the movers and shakers, especially across manufacturing, including Billy Taylor, it sounds. Learn more at ame.org. And we'll touch on this at the end of today's live stream as well. Okay. So Billy, one of our favorite parts, beyond making those announcements and paying the bills a bit, is engaging with the folks that join us right here on this live stream. Right, I've as much as I've learned from you and our guests, man, I learn a lot from the folks that show up and drop in what they're thinking in the comments. Right?
Absolutely. Actually, that's where I start taking notes, Scott. The feedback and some of the one-liners we get, I mean, they're phenomenal. So I look forward to this part of the show as well.
Agreed. I'm with you. And I want to start. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here because DC is with us today. And DC's been on the show a couple times. Love her perspective. And she's a big fan of Quip. How about that? One of the raving fans. And as she says there, love their commitment to digital. And they're going to be touching a lot more on that on the webinar. So DC, hope this finds you well out in the western U.S. and in gorgeous either New Mexico or Arizona. I can't remember right off, but hope this finds you and your family well. All right, so scrolling back up, we got Srinivas back with us. I tell you, he has been, Amanda, we're going to owe Srinivas like 3 or 4 badges. He's on all these live streams. So welcome back, Srinivas. Look forward to your POV here today. Hope this finds your family well. Ayub is tuned in via LinkedIn from Morocco. Welcome. Look forward to your comments here today. Let's see, Hassan is tuned in via Saudi Arabia. Hassan, welcome via LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Claudia Freed, Billy. You haven't met Claudia yet, I don't think.
No, I have not.
I'll tell you, we get the two of y'all together, and we could boil the ocean. Claudia's good people. She just would join us for an episode of Supply Chain Now in Espanol, and probably her second or third appearance with us. But Claudia, I hope this finds you well, and great to have you here today. Sushil is with us via LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuned in from, Sushil. Welcome, welcome. Anindya, and if I got that wrong, I apologize. Please let me know. Andy, as he says, thank you for that. Andy, great to have you here via LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us. I believe it was yesterday or one of the earlier live streams this week, and always great to have you back. Simon, fingers crossed, it's coming home. Hey, how about that, Simon? Hopefully I guess it's not a new role anymore. Simon Billy had started a new career opportunity probably a few months back. But Billy, as much as we enjoy your sense of humor, Simon can match you toe for toe. We'll see. Now, Peter, you're not supposed to be here. Peter is supposed to be on some appointments and maybe some afternoon golf matches. But he says, good afternoon, made it on time. All major organs have been checked out, which is great. Now I fully understand what ladies go through when that cold jelly hits you for an ultrasound. Peter, man, we'll have to get you to elaborate that maybe much later in the afternoon. But most importantly, great to hear that you got a 2 thumbs up from a health standpoint. That's great to hear. All right, so we'll try to get to everyone on the comments throughout the live stream here today. Keep your comments coming, your POV coming. As much as Billy and our guest Ellis is the stars of the show, the third star of the show is certainly the folks that show up in the comments, and we look forward to featuring your perspective here today as well. But Billy, it is time to. I'm looking forward. Our guest today, Ellis Jones. Not only do we enjoy the pre-show conversation, but I understand from our previous prep calls that you and him may go back a little bit, and there might be some stories that we can share, and maybe a few that we can't share. And
Absolutely. I always say, you hear the saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happened with Billy, Ellis and Billy didn't happen. Okay. That's what I look at it. It didn't happen. But no, in all seriousness, we actually grew up together in Goodyear. When you're talking our career paths, Ellis is one of the most well-rounded executives I've ever met. He'll tell you a little about his background and how he's come through the ranks. Leading executive at Goodyear, just a solid person, and really understands leadership, right? That servant leadership, where when you listen to Ellis, one of his sayings is all encounters matter. And so that. He's been, we went through being on the same team. He'll say that at one point he's a plant manager, won the AME award after he left. And that's about sustainability. He's like a guru in that space, not only building systems of excellence, but sustaining them after the leader leaves. So Ellis is just a well-rounded person, family man, just a ground level leader that you respect.
I love it. All encounters matter. One of our first T-shirt isms here today. So with that foreshadowing, Billy, I want to welcome in Ellis Jones, Vice President, Global EHS&S and Business Continuity with the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Oh.
Hey, there we go. There we go. Good afternoon, Scott, Billy. How's everyone?
Great to have you here, Ellis. Hey, it's Friday too for our automation engine here today. So it's been a long week, evidently. But hey, we've really enjoyed our pre-show conversation as Billy and I had a good time talking about. We had to go through an army of agents to get you on, Ellis. And great to have you here. Look forward to diving into some topics. But Billy, where are we starting though?
Well, I'm going to let Ellis, first of all, thank you for joining us today. As Scott said, it was almost like getting LeBron James or someone on the show today. We had to go through hoops and challenges, but you made it, Ellis. You made it. All right.
I'm a good admin.
Yeah. So Ellis, let's start with, why don't you tell us about yourself and a little bit about your background?
Sure. Hey, so I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm 55, originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Went to school at Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, and later received my MBA, a master's in operational excellence from The Ohio State University. Thought I would never go. I promised myself I would never go to an Ohio State school, but I ended up at Ohio State. It was a great experience, great university, and really enjoyed it. So been with Goodyear for about 32 years. I have a different background getting to where I'm at today. I started off in finance and accounting, so I have a degree in accounting and spent more than half of my career in finance and accounting. And that's what Billy and I ran into each other. I actually spent 10 years in manufacturing in finance and accounting, and as a controller, assistant plant controller, and so on. So I spent a lot of years in finance and accounting, finance director of different businesses, been finance director for manufacturing, purchasing, supply chain in our North America operations. And then I went to the dark side. I became plant manager of our race tire facility in Akron, Ohio. And I'll tell you, it was probably the best experience I ever had in my career. It was unbelievable. And that's where I say the first time Billy really worked for me. Billy was actually my leader, so I actually reported to Billy. And look, we were very close friends, and I never forget, my wife said, how are you going to work for Billy? That's going to be difficult. And I said, you don't understand. I just gained the best employee I could ever have.
Wow.
In Billy Taylor. That's the type of leader he is. And I really felt that going into this position, that Billy would be the best advocate and work for me as a leader. So I did that for 5 years, and then I took over environmental health, safety, sustainability, and later received business continuity. So that's how I ended up where I am today.
Wow. So Billy, so much to kind of peel away and dive into, but you got to, his words there on part of what he shared, it's got to make you feel good.
Well, it really does, because, sometimes personal relationships can get in the way of business relationships. Now, what he will say that I never compromised on the standard, and I wasn't an easy person, right? It wasn't, but as a leader, some of the stories that I can tell you about Ellis, that plant, it wasn't a new plant, correct? Tell them a little about the plant.
Yeah, it's one of our oldest facilities. It was, so to say it was local too. So steel workers local too. So it was their second local organized. So that tells you how old the facility is.
Yeah. And what was one of the things that the first person that your day in around the expectations from the union?
Yeah, so I went to introduce myself to the team. So I came in as an finance person. So everyone thought I was going to shut the plant down. Old facility, and our performance in that facility wasn't that great. So the rumor was I was coming in to shut the plant down. Why would they bring an accountant into the organization to run the organization? So the union president told me, "Hey, Ellis, the word is you're here to shut us down." So the first time I met with the associates, I did an all-associate meeting, and I introduced myself, told them all these great things about me. And there was one person sitting in the front row, and I knew that was trouble. He was sitting in the front row all by himself. And when I opened it up for questions, he raised his hand and he said, "Ellis, don't take this personally, but we have no expectation of you whatsoever." He said, "You are here to shut this plant down. You don't understand us. You don't understand this operation. You don't know how to make tires. You don't care about our safety. And oh, by the way, your team sitting behind you, they don't care about us either. So don't take this personally, but we have no expectation of you whatsoever." That was the opening salvo of my experience in this plant, and that set the tone very early for what I needed to do in this organization, and that was learn and just really get the respect of the organization, but earn their respect as a leader, and I felt I had to do that from day one.
I love that. We've got a dear friend of the show, Phil, over at Art of Procurement, that likes to say feedback is a blessing.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, Ellis, boy, you had a bounty that day. But it's probably in a weird way, rather than folks thinking what that team member said to you, for them to share that with you and to give you the opportunity to respond, that was probably a really good thing.
Yes, it was. And I tell you, we became good friends. He is a good friend today. When we see each other, I go back to the plant. It's a plant here in Akron. We talk. But what I learned that day was, and as I walked around the facility and learned more about the facility, the environment was critical, and they just didn't feel respected because of the environment. And then safety was another area that was top of mind. So my focus going in, and what he taught me was, again, earn their respect. And part of that, and the major part of that, was safety, both physical and psychological. And really developing that type of environment was top of mind for me.
Love it. All right. So I want to share a couple comments, and then Billy, before I move to sustainability, I want to get your, one of your key thoughts of what Ellis just shared there. But let's say hello. So Denise is tuned in via LinkedIn from Norway. Welcome, Denise. Great to have you here today. Let's see here. Claudia really agreed with your earlier comments, Billy, about how sustainability is far more than operations. Chudley, welcome. It's your first time here. I believe you're tuned in from Tunisia, and we appreciate the feedback. Hey, feedback truly is a blessing. So look forward to, Chudley, your comments here today. Also, a play on all encounters matter, Ellis, is we've got Nerfad. Hello, Nerfad. Tire tread matters. I love that.
Yes, it does.
And finally, Enrique Alvarez. Great to see Billy Taylor again, and congratulations for having such a great guest. Hey, Billy makes us all look great, and to bring on Ellis as well and have us learn from both of these leaders. What a treat here on this Friday. Okay.
Well, one of the things, Scott, you brought up is just summarizing what Ellis said, right? It's why did I really think Ellis would be a great guest? And it starts with trust. And so when Ellis talks about that union person, or when your leaders going in to lead others or change or transformation, I look at it, Ellis, earning the right to change. And see, that's what most people miss. And when people go into companies or lead companies, you get the technical right. You've got the title, you've got capital investments, you've got work instructions. But earning the right to change is around culture. And so, Ellis, that's what I saw you do, is earn the right to change. It had nothing to do with accounting.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly right. And Billy's right. Again, they knew I was an accountant, and I had to change the way I worked every single day. And I'll tell you, I had one cost meeting. I had a very good controller. He was a previous director of mine. I had a strong team. I love my team. And they enabled me to really be successful there. And we were successful as a team. But I decided, you know what, I need to step away from the finance side of it and really move them away from that and really focus on them. So I had one cost meeting very early on, and I told my team, no more cost meetings. I can manage, my controller can manage costs, no more cost meetings. And we focus on that environment. And that's what Billy said. We focus on safety. We cleaned up the environment. We've invested money in just cleaning up the entire environment. And it was funny early on, which I didn't realize this. They came from an organization when the environment was cleaned up, the plant was sold. So then people said, well, here we go. He's cleaning up the environment. There must be getting it ready for sale. So I had to work through that. But after we get past that with the team really embraced it. And then the safety part of it, who can deny focusing on safety? And we really focused on those two things, the physical environment, cleaning it up and making people and helping people feel respected and valued. And then safety. Yeah. Everything we did was around those two very early on in the process.
I love that. Guys, we're going to need a couple of additional hours here today. I feel like there's so many stories and lessons learned that we could have both of you expound on. But I want to share just a close the loop here. Enrique also is a leader of our Logistics with Purpose and Supply Chain Now in Espanol series here. So great to have you tune in, Enrique. T Squared, we were talking about you just yesterday, T Squared, who he holds down the fort for us on YouTube. He says, hashtag HBCU made. This is great to see. As an HBCU made man twice and finance man bitten by the supply chain management bug, this is good reflection. You can't be what you don't see. Thank you for sharing that, T Squared, and great to have you back. And Simon enjoys this. Billy makes us all look great. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, listen, look and listen, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And then finally, Peter says he loves their performance dashboard charts behind Billy Ray Taylor. I agree with you. Or he's demonstrating how empty hid shelves are. All right. So a lot of fun here. Thanks for everybody showing up. So continuing down this path here, you talked about the environment a couple of times. Of course, you talked about safety. I love that. But let's talk about one of the other, I guess, 6S's these days. It used to be 5S, now it's 6S. I believe might be 7S around the corner. Sustainability.
Yes.
So tell us, Ellis, what are some of your thoughts here, and what are some of the priorities for sustainability at Goodyear?
Yeah, I tell you what a challenging environment, but an environment rich with opportunities. So when you think about sustainability, and it is more than operations, that the scope of sustainability is so great. But if you think about one of the critical areas is sustainability and supply chain. So what we're seeing, and you see all the companies announcing net zero targets on greenhouse gas emissions. Well, what happens behind the scenes and what's happening to us is, as companies make those announcements, they look in their supply chain, because you can't do it without your supply chain. You have what you focus on or what you can control, which is scope 1, scope 2 within your operations. But then you have to move to the scope 3 emissions, which are those emissions within your supply chain.
Right.
So what we're seeing from our customers, they want net zero products. So they want us to deliver net zero products. They also want sustainable materials. So more sustainable materials, those materials that are much more friendly to the environment and contribute to circularity. So you can rework those materials back into the product. I'd say I think the third one would be traceability within the supply chain. So being able to trace your products, not just the tier 1 suppliers, but all the way through your supply chain to those tier 2, 3, 4 level suppliers. It's a challenging environment. It's rich with opportunity, but those are the demands we're seeing today.
Billy?
One of the things, Ellis, I remember, right, working and going through the sustainability meetings with you and your team, right? From the customer now, just in summary, the customer wants to know sustainability around how you win, how you work, and where you focus.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Right?
exactly right. It's exactly right. And you're right, Billy. So what you have to do is, and this our customers and our investors want to know, how are you integrating sustainability into your business model? It can't be a bolt-on strategy where you do your business and then you do sustainability.
Right.
They want to know because the accountability is starting to ramp up as well in terms of, okay, we know what you said, but give us the proof. So now they want to see how sustainability is integrated into your business strategy. And what you do and what they want to see is, are you developing a sustainable business strategy? Not a sustainability strategy, but a sustainable business strategy.
Yeah, well said. Claudia really appreciates the circular economy mention. I think you mentioned also circularity, Ellis, which is,
Yes.
I love to hear leadership focus more on practical application and
Yes.
you know, the results that you just mentioned a second ago.
Mhm.
T Squared says, speak the language of the business, not so much the function. I love that. And then Peter talks about how back when he was in procurement, I think over at Air Canada, I think I got it right, Peter. You're going to kill me if I didn't. But he led procurement projects on aircraft tires back in the early 2000s. So I bet there's some stories there.
Oh, yeah.
Simon says the U.S. and the U.K. are united and yet divided by language. I don't think that statement about Billy making us look good means quite the same thing on this side of the pond. Simon, I'm gonna have to learn more about that. We'll see. And then finally, Claudia says sustainability, quoting Ellis, cannot be a bolt-on strategy. Another T-shirt-ism here today. Okay, Simon, we'll connect offline. I got to figure out how I put my foot in my mouth this time. All right, so let's keep driving. Let's move from sustainability to robotics, or as Billy and I were talking pre-show, cobotics, right? So Ellis, what are some of the things you're seeing there?
With robotic, like you said, you've seen, and we've seen, robotics come in and replace people. And that's something when you think about sustainability, you don't really want to see that. You want to protect people. You want to make sure, you don't create this divide. So you still see that, look, there's a place for robotics. There's a place for robots to do more technology to do the job, but you're also looking for robotics to help people and enhance everyone's ability. One, we're seeing safety. Personally, what we're working with is, how do we bring in robotics to help people do their jobs safely? Wearables. That's another thing that we're seeing. We're seeing more wearables, opportunities for vests, watches, rings to help people stay safe. The other area that digital and technology is coming into play, I talked about traceability, which is very, very complex. It's the digital application in tracing your products through your supply chain. So a lot of different areas we're focused on, and other companies are focused on. But as Billy said, I think it's going to continue to emerge and continue, not replace people, but how do you help and enhance, how people can do their work.
Excellent. Have you seen in industry, you thinking cobotics, whereas people were, right, the psychological safety around robotics, are they being involved up front, like doing robotics or development of robotics with the team instead of doing it to the team? So people are having input on what they specifically need to be more effective, to be safer in the development of robot or cobotics.
Yeah, that is critical. So how do you involve people and really involving people up front as you develop new manufacturing systems? How do you bring those people in that are going to do the work? And hey, by the way, if their work is going to change, so you help them understand how their work will change with the addition of the robotics in the plant or cobotics in the plant. They may do something different. That's, it's building their capability to be able to do a different job. So you're upskilling them. So they're helping you bring the robots in place, and then they're being upskilled to be able to do something different within the facility.
Well said. Going back, you mentioned traceability. talk about things in demand. You know, traceability. Consumers want to know where things are, where the components are sourced, and where things are grown. You name it. And I love the movement. Right, knowledge is certainly power, and that's a big part of this huge, massive push globally for more visibility for supply chain leaders, manufacturing leaders, business leaders, but also more visibility for consumers. And it sounds like that's part of the game plan there at Goodyear. So we want to move more into management systems, Billy and Ellis. Regardless, you could have the world-class automation, right? Maybe automation is so good that not only do robots and cobots get, what was that phrase, Billy? Round and out the
round and black and out the back.
Yes, round and black and out the back. Lots of production tires, good tires. But you could have the best robots that do all that, and maybe even make you a pimento cheese sandwich at lunch, right? World-class automation. But you still have to have management systems, right? Management systems. And we were talking about this notion, Ellis, before we went live, about how companies are culturizing management systems effectively these days. Any thoughts here, Ellis?
Yeah, I tell you what, this is, hey, this is a great learning from Billy. And I made mistakes with management systems, just as everyone else, a lot of people did, and thinking you can just put in this really nice system and people will, will gravitate towards the system and will operate within the system. I use, and Billy knows what I'm about to say here, I have a structure that I use. It's structure, environment, and capability. And when I think about management systems, management system is part of the structure. So you need strong management systems. You need governance. That's where those digital systems come into play. But probably the most important is the environment that you create for your team to be able to operate with this management system. We often forget that. And you really do have to make it safe for your organization to operate with this management system. It can look great. It can give you all this great data. But if the team doesn't feel safe, because a management system is going to point out your gaps and it's going to expose your gaps, and you're going to be very transparent with those gaps. But man, if it's not safe in that culture to be transparent, the team will not operate well with that management system. So we often forget, how do you make it safe for your team to be able to operate within a structured management system? And then it's about building their capability. So as a leader, how do you assess your team and say, okay, are we capable to operate within this management system? Very important that we often forget. So as you said, Scott, it can be the beautiful system, but if you don't really build the environment and the culture to be able to operate within this system, it's probably not going to work. It's not going to be sustainable.
Right. It's kind of like getting the keys to a brand new Ferrari. If you don't know how to drive, it's just a brand new Ferrari. So, but Billy, you're going to say something.
Yeah, one of the things that I've seen, even as a consultant working with Fortune 500 companies, in the management system, it's rare that the people is the reason the management system fails. It's the management team that creates it, the system to fall apart. And one of the things I've seen is that leadership courage or leadership standards. I always say, what you accept, you cannot change. So what's the standard, right? You've heard me say that before. Advice I can tell my daughter, look, in relationships, what you accept, you cannot change. And what you accept becomes a standard. Right. And I just have a couple of stories even with Ellis. Ellis was running North America, and Ellis is, right, he's getting his master's, and he calls me one day and he says, hey, Billy, I'd like to shut the plant down for a month. Right? Now we're producing NASCAR tires. And I'm really looking at my phone like, has he lost his mind? Right? I'm like, that's unheard of in Goodyear's culture. And I said, so what would you like to do? I'm listening. I never said no. He says, I want to train my people from the janitor all the way up. I want them to know their roles and responsibilities. Billy, I want them to know what they own. And you know what, Billy? They don't understand this operational excellence stuff. And I'm listening, and I'm like, you want to do what? And I'm thinking, and I'm really, and I'll let him talk about it. And I'm thinking, you're out of your mind, right? But we did it. So Ellis, you want to share
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that?
no, I remember that day. Look, first, remember, I'm a finance person, so I did the math. So I made sure I did the math because I knew Billy would ask. But I knew it was something that, look, it hadn't been done before. And as Billy said, in our culture, you don't shut down a factory. But we looked at it, and you remember I talked about building the environment and understanding the capability of your team. Well, I knew my team, they still didn't have the capability, and I was learning as well. And I knew the environment wasn't there yet for us to be successful, but we had to build this environment. So I sat down, we did the numbers, we looked at it, and I felt I could recover if I really got the team aligned and I really started building their capability. I knew we had operations, or we had opportunity within our supply chain to recover. So that's how I called Billy and said, look, I need to go through the strategy deployment process, and I need everybody to understand, what winning is. So what is winning for our organization? I need to cascade that all the way through the plan. So we really did. We spent that month of December, and it was never done in our facilities. And we spent that whole month just learning together, building our strategic plan, aligning the strategy, aligning the action. So at the end of it, everyone had an action plan. Everyone had a development plan. We aligned our KPIs, including me. I started with my action plan, my KPIs, and here's how we're going to hold ourselves accountable. And again, including me throughout the year. And that was the start of really our team kind of really building the confidence to be able to operate within the management system. And that's where we built the culture, started building the culture.
And it was an investment side. So after that, when he started up, one, he never missed an order. Two, he was working 6 days a week to get product in 5 days. He went to a 5-day work week and gave people back their quality of life.
Yeah.
Right. And then the plant was probably one of the best performing plants as far as year-over-year improvement, even with the shutdown, and went on to win the AME award. And thinking sustainability, the process lived beyond Ellis. So when you're talking a real good daily management system, it lives beyond the leader.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Scott, a couple stories with Billy here. I just again, his leadership and how he fit into this culture. One, you've heard the term catch ball. So one of the things we did, it was with safety. And I had a goal from Billy from the region on safety, and I gave it to my safety leader, and he came back and said, I can't hit this goal. I said, well, we need to talk about this. He said, Ellis, I can't hit the goal. We're not capable. So during this strategy deployment session, he starts playing catch ball with me. And this was the first test, I think, for the team to see this leader, be able to play catch ball with me. And he had his data. He came in and he said, and I said, I believe you. So then I had to bring Billy in. And in front of the entire team, I said, Billy, we can't hit the safety goal. And Billy said, Ellis, I need to understand that, because the safety goal went all the way up to the company. And we played catch ball. And the team watched me play catch ball with Billy. And at the end, Billy says, I get it. You guys aren't capable of hitting that goal. And we agreed on a goal. And then Billy took it. That was, I think, the leadership that built that helped build that psychological safety. They saw someone playing catch ball with me and then me playing catch ball with Billy. And we ended up with a goal that we could all align to. And then Billy could hold me accountable and I could hold that leader accountable. And we accepted that.
And you can, and the team can make that commitment. And
That's
even
right.
though it was a stretch is what I'm hearing, still it was one that was not unreasonable, and one that still pushed the organization to reach more and perform better. So I got to share some comments here. There's so much that you and Billy are sharing that's triggering a lot of thoughts here. I want to go all the way back upstream a bit. Chedley says, it's time to make vertical integration between different supply chain layers to create a better, solid, and efficient supply chain network. In result, there will be multiple optimizations in economical, social, and environmental aspects. The hard part is building trust between different firms, I think, is what Chedley says. Billy, you want to comment on that first, and I'll go to Ellis?
I agree with it. We call it managing the intersections, right? And you look at it's also a vertical and a horizontal intersection,
Right.
right? And you've got to marry those up. It's like a highway or right, us traveling. There are intersections, and what keeps traffic flowing, right? Those standards and those relationships, and it's important, but those have to be clear. Ellis talked about strategy deployment. What's the strategy to get everyone in the room? Because when people don't know what they own, they blame.
Right.
Right. And you hear me say often, in the absence of ownership comes blame. How do you solve that? Getting those people in the room, those players in the room, those vertical and horizontal players, and make sure they know what they own, and then hold them accountable to the strategy. But not only the strategy, most companies only focus on the KPI. It's critical that you link the KPAs with the KPIs, the key performance actions with the key performance indicators, right? And then I didn't say a leading indicator. I said an action.
Right.
If I want to lose weight, you've heard me say this. I can't stand on the scale and wonder what the heck is happening, right? I was 250 yesterday. I'm 252 today. Well, did I eat 3 chocolate bars when I said I was going to only eat 1? Right? Did I have that 4 slice of pizza? Right? And so I need to look at the KPAs around all of those systems when you're talking integration and hold people accountable to the actions as well.
Excellent point. Ellis?
No, it's a great point. I mean, you really linking everyone, and look, transparency, when you think about sustainability, transparency is like, it's a foundational kind of, expectation for sustainability. And what we're finding is, and people, look, it's a change for many organizations and many different industries to be more transparent and open up your organization. But what you find and how you're able to link the different organizations, different suppliers, is transparency is saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to open this book, and it allows you to look in, and it's not to look in to criticize. It's a look in to say, where do you need help? How can we help you? How can we partner? So as different suppliers, different, elements of the supply chain, open it up to say, okay, here I am. Here are my challenges. Here's where I don't have transparency. Here's where I do have transparency, or here's where I have traceability. Here's where I don't have it. Hey, human rights, right. Another critical element of the supply chain. What's your due diligence process around human rights? Hey, well, I don't have one. You know what? Here's a due diligence process, and here's how we can help you. So transparency is a critical element of creating that link with those different layers. And again, it's not about criticizing the different elements. It's about saying, okay, we see you, here's where we can help you. And that's going to be so important as we move forward.
I love that. Our dear friend Mark Preston, Billy, always is known for saying, don't fool yourself, right? Don't fool yourself. You got to keep it real, right?
That's right.
On this topic of human rights and human trafficking and slavery even. Amanda, I'd love for you to drop the comments or the link in for Hope for Justice. So we've got our big December event coming up to celebrate supply chain and procurement achievements and whatnot. We're partnering with this nonprofit called Hope for Justice that's keeping it real and shining a big spotlight across the globe of some of the atrocities that still goes on. So, and unfortunately, global supply chain leaders got their work cut out for us because, thankfully, a bigger spotlight is being put upstream and downstream in some of these very disconcerting areas of global business, and it's important we don't shy away from the tough topics. So anyway, Hope for Justice, if you could drop that in the comments, we want to help make their noble mission more visible. All right, I also want to share. This is a wonderful. This is like a mini master class with Billy and Ellis. Man, I'm gonna get a certification leaving once we close up this live stream. Claudia says there's that's a pearl of wisdom. Safety is not only physical, it's also emotional. Only then teams can thrive. I think both of y'all are kind of speaking to that, Ellis. Yeah. You did it in a very pointed manner. Yeah. Peter talks about, we mentioned Ferrari, which I'll never know in my entire lifetime what those feel to drive, maybe. But Peter did drive one for his 50th birthday. It looks like he drove one around the racetrack as a gift from his daughter. Gregory says tracking and tracing are inextricably intertwined, as the former provides location of assets, equipment, commodities in real time, and tracing provides a historical view of such with visibility, transparency, accountability for those operating in supply chains, value chains, logistics frameworks. Very crucial towards enhancing sustainability. Gregory, you have a new nickname. You're the William Shakespeare of supply chain. Man, any comment, and I'll just stop there for a second. Any comments there? Ellis, let's stick with you.
Yeah, no, look, I can't say too much. And this is it's a challenge for all industries. Some have kind of met this challenge. We're still working on it. When you think about natural rubber, and we think natural rubber is a sustainable product. It's natural, it comes from trees.
Right.
But there are still sustainability challenges with natural rubber. You talk about deforestation, you talk about, like you said, just talk about human rights. So we need to make sure that where we're purchasing our natural rubber from, and as well as our competitors, that there's no deforestation associated with it.
Right.
There are no, there's no child labor associated with it. So we're doing a lot of work around, being able to trace that natural rubber all the way back to its origin. Here's the challenge. There are millions and millions of small farmers, that are supplying this big network. And there are so many different layers within our natural rubber supply chain. So that's the challenge in it, but that's the kind of what we're dealing with. You want to eliminate deforestation. You want to eliminate human rights issues, trafficking or child labor. So that's why it's so critical to be able to trace it through the supply chain, and we're all working towards that. And we've got NGOs helping us with that. And it's, if we all do it, we all win. I think society wins if we can do it.
Right. And what I can really appreciate, Ellis, and Billy, I'm sure you can too, is the scope of this, right? I mean, millions and millions of farmers and sourcing partners, you name it. I mean, this is despite our best efforts and real, not lip service, but real intention and investment and all the partnering you're speaking of, Ellis, that folks are helping you identify and improve and rectify and whatnot. This is the kind of the challenge of this time, right?
Yes. Yes.
And each challenge presents a wonderful opportunity, right, to move forward collectively and together. Yeah. But I admire that just because it's the right thing to do doesn't make it easy, and doesn't make it easy just from a sheer get it done standpoint. And I appreciate those comments there, Ellis. Yeah. Billy, I know you're. What are some of the things that this brings to your mind?
Well, when you look at tracking and traceability, right, it goes back to creating that safe space so people can come forward and put the dead fish on the table, right? If there are repercussions for that, right? In the airport, you hear, if you see something, say something,
right?
And those are those systems. When you don't create that environment where people can come forward with real data, real constraints,
right,
real issues. As a diversity and inclusion leader, my thing was creating those allies, right? Because that's a sensitive subject. When you're talking diversity and inclusion, it can be very intimidating to someone,
right? Especially
the white male.
Sure.
And it was like, no, let's have that safe conversation. Let me talk to you about this.
Right. And
it wasn't that sometimes you always hear unconscious bias. It was afraid bias. I'm afraid to say the wrong thing. I'm afraid of ignorance, right? Out of inconvenience. They may not know.
Right. I want to agree. I want to just. It can be very challenging, especially a white Southern male. Growing up in where I grew up, that sometimes my fear of saying the wrong thing can prevent the conversations that need to happen. And those tough conversations you're speaking to, the ability to put that dead fish on the table, that's how we tackle and move on and move forward. But it can be some of that head trash that resides between the ears, based on maybe where you're from or how you grew up or whatever. So I appreciate you. I'm gonna completely and blatantly steal that dead fish analogy, Billy and Ellis.
And that's what I see. I was working with a CEO of a company, and I applaud this leader. I'm not going to put his name out there. But one, that humility, that vulnerability, to have that conversation openly in front of his team, and what he took away from that conversation was more valuable.
Right.
Right. Because now the understanding that they have the ability to have that conversation openly and then go down in your organization and find out what that organization needs. And therefore, when issues come forward, they're bringing solutions with the problem.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a blame game. So,
you know, and Scott, you know, Billy talks about this, and I'm sure everyone is, you know, Brene Brown, she talks about this in terms of, when I think about courage, you know, she talks about, you know, making, you know, look, you have to be vulnerable. And it is so true. Mm-hmm. As a leader, if you can't stand in front of your team and be vulnerable, I just think your team and you're leaving something on the table, and you're leaving a lot on the table in terms of creating that safe space. It is so important that you can step in front of your team and be vulnerable and talk about the things that you may not know or where you need help and where you're having challenges. And that's something that I developed over the years, and I felt very comfortable with that. People think being vulnerable is not courageous.
Right.
It takes courage to be vulnerable. I mean, that is the essence of courage, to stand up. But that's what it takes, and it's so important as leaders to do that. And Billy mentioned it, and I had to say it because it's so critical if you want to move forward to be vulnerable. Again, sustainability, transparency. You're opening yourself up. You're vulnerable as an organization. Excellent. But it's courage to do it, and it's a huge step. And I think your team members realize it, your suppliers realize it, and man, I think you end up in a better place.
I'm with you. I got to share a couple of comments here from what both of y'all were just sharing. Charles Heaters, and hello, Charles. Great to have you. Love that style of leadership. Thanks for sharing. Peter Bollet, leading and vulnerability go hand in hand. To your point, Ellis. Hey, Dr. Rhonda, how you doing? She says, fear, very true from so many different perspectives. Fear can kind of shut down the ability for honest, compassionate communication. Excellent point. And then Azalea, going back a little ways in the conversation, says, and great to have you here once again with us, Azalea. We have been crippled as a society for so long by these same cyclic issues, labor rights, slavery, etc., mostly because they have been hidden, overlooked, labeled not important. Only exposed issues can become solved issues. I love that, Azalea. Great to have you here. Okay. So I had a.
Can I jump in on Azalea's statement?
Hello, Jada. Great to have you here with us. Go ahead.
Azalea, I love your statement because one of my famous quotes in business and anything is, "You can't manage a secret."
Tell us more.
It's impossible. You can't manage a secret. And so everything that Ellis and I and Scott talked about today is not only how you expose those secrets, but now how you manage those secrets. I just want that. I didn't want to miss that opportunity, Scott.
Yeah, well said. And I'm adding that. That's going to be my 147th page here today in this manufacturing leadership series. But really, both of y'all, it's tough to tackle everything we wanted to in an hour. We'll have to have you back, Ellis. I want to share this one more comment before we make sure folks can connect with you both. This is Korai Koze. Sometimes the LinkedIn profile doesn't show, but our friend from Gartner, he says, if you don't take risks that you can manage through courage and smarts and only hide, you won't succeed. And that is an excellent point. It's all about taking those risks, those calculated risks, but getting out of your comfort zone as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So much we'll have to save for next time. But Ellis, really appreciate you taking time out, as busy as both of y'all are here today. But let's make sure folks know how to connect with you after today. I bet you'll have some folks that want to kind of compare notes and learn more from you.
Yeah, no. Look, Scott, it's been a pleasure, connecting with you today, and always a pleasure with my friend Billy, my good friend Billy here. So this has been great, and I'll come back anytime. You guys let me know, and we can tackle these topics and many more topics. But you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can go to the URL, and Ellis Allen Jones is where you'll find me on LinkedIn. And please connect with me. Send me messages. Let's start a dialogue if you'd like to do that.
Love that, Ellis. I love that. I bet your LinkedIn inbox is going to be overflowing like the feedback you got earlier as you joined that plant leadership team. But it was so good to hear that and have you here and meet you and hear your POV and expertise firsthand. So big thanks to Billy. Billy, let's make sure folks know how to connect with you and all the things you're up to, including I think this is public knowledge. This book you're writing, which will be released, I want to say last time you shared maybe in the fall or yes. Early next year. Is that right?
Early next year. It's going well to connect with me is LinkedIn as Ellis. I always respond to my own. I don't have no social media manager, so that's what I do. I love building relationships. Go to my website, linkedxl.com. That's the name of the company for Linked Excellence. The book, actually, right before I didn't open the email, Scott, before we started, McGraw-Hill just sent me what the title of the book is going to be. So,
outstanding.
So we just found that out right before the show today. I didn't open it because I didn't want to get too excited. But the book is coming out, and it centers around next generation lean. Right? What's next? What's beyond Toyota? Embracing everything from Toyota. That cultural piece where leaders go in with airport lean, right? They pick the book up in the airport, they read it, and they land and say, we need 4 Six Sigma black belts because we're going to be lean. It focuses on how to incorporate the tools. So that's what's going on with myself. Again, always love being on the show. You have a great audience and a great team behind the scenes as well.
Hey, I'm with you. And sometimes in front of the scenes, it's great to have Jada. In fact, we're going to get Jada on an upcoming live stream, one of our newest team members, and love her perspective. But great conversation, Billy and Ellis. And Bill, if you hold back for a second, I'm going to bid Ellis adieu. Ellis, right. Thanks so much for your time here today. We've been talking with Ellis Jones, Vice President, Global EHS&S and Business Continuity with the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. We hope to see you again soon, Ellis.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Sir. All right.
Okay, excellent. I'll tell you, Billy, man, you don't disappoint. That's one of those conversations that, sometimes you feel the hour and other times you blink and it's time to wrap up. And you could have just easily and smoothly moved into a follow-up hour. But I got a feeling we'll have Ellis back again, Billy. Absolutely. I think he enjoyed it just as much as we enjoyed having him. A wealth of knowledge. Well, I think the two of y'all, I mentioned earlier on the front end, I think we get you and Claudia together and we can solve the world's ills. But, man, I wish I was a fly on the wall for some of the conversations and some of the things you and he did working as a team at Goodyear. So we'll have to dive in deeper to that next time. Absolutely. So before we wrap up here today, we want to make sure folks have the opportunity, especially folks that may have joined in late, to know about the upcoming AME Everywhere International Conference 2021 coming up October 18th through the 21st. A slew of great speakers. You can learn more at ame.org. But Billy, you mentioned earlier you're prepping for one of the sessions you're going to be leading. We've seen some of the keynotes. I've been a part of this event on several occasions. The networking is top notch. I believe AME is making a lot of the training available far beyond the end of the event so that teams and organizations can take advantage of it. What else? What am I missing that folks need to know about this event coming up in October? It's where I actually cut my teeth, right? It's getting familiar with the practical processes. And, it's not a cost, it's an investment. I look at what I get from this conference is if I brought in a consultant or someone, I wouldn't get that type of hands-on one-on-one and this buffet of operational excellence. Right. And it's something there for everybody based on what you need. And so that's why I've always attended. I recommend it this year. And, the team at AME, they're constantly looking for what the business community need instead of forcing tools out there. So it's going to be a great conference. Yeah, agreed. Well, hey, if we can hear from more leaders like you and Ellis and our friend Mark Preston, who's in the skybox today, he says, Scott, I see more coffee in your future. Mark, I admit I need more coffee today. It's been a long week. I only had 17 cups. I'm used to about 27, Billy. But Mark, great to see you. Your ears may have been burning from our earlier conversation, Mark. But Billy, outstanding discussion. And Azalea, it is a virtual event this year. Initially, it was going to be Atlanta, but as every other organization, they're kind of keeping a finger on the pulse of everything that's going on as we fight to get into everywhere the post-pandemic environment. So this is going to be virtual, and you can learn more at ame.org. Okay, and I got to give one more shout out. Kim Winter is with us. Hey, Kim, great to have you here. Your ears may have been burned as well. We were talking about our friend, let's see here, Mark Ormrod, which is Billy. Mark is a former Royal Marines commando, also a triple amputee that has overcome all of that to now be a big, inspiring, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, TV movie star, projects coming up. I mean, the guy's just knocking it out of the park. We're interviewing him on an upcoming Veteran Voices session. So, Kim, great to have you here, and thanks for making that conversation happen. Okay, so Billy, folks know how to connect with you. You've got the title. I don't think you released. You probably can't share that title of your book, can you?
No, I haven't even read it yet. I just saw it pop up in a side email. We have the title, and I thought
that's exciting.
So it's exciting.
That is exciting. Well, hey, what's this weekend? We got Friday afternoon. Any big plans? What's the one thing you're looking forward to this weekend?
Well, I speak to a lot of youths around, right, that value proposition. How do you show up? And so I have a couple of classes with the city of Akron where young leaders, future leaders that I'm going to be speaking to just around their brand, and so that's what's going to happen this weekend. And just a little bit relaxation.
I love it, man. You keep on keeping on. I love it. And one final question, and we'll wrap. Ellis shared a ton of really good stuff here today. And, in a manner, and this is my first time meeting and talking with Ellis, some folks, when they talk, it's lip service. And other folks, when they talk and share, man, it comes from a really authentic space and genuine space. And you get that with Ellis. But what was your favorite thing that Ellis shared here today?
Well, I think for me, it goes back to his transparency, the ability as a leader to have those difficult conversations around being servant. One of the things with Ellis, when I started my company, I remember meeting him at Starbucks to tell him about my strategy. And he squarely looked me in the eye. It was almost embarrassing. He hurt my feelings, to be honest with you. He says, this is horrible. You don't know what you're going to do. You think you're good at a lot, but what's that one thing you're offering? That's what I want from Billy Taylor. He goes, I don't see that here. And that's what I wanted from a real leader, a real friend. And it actually caused me to focus. But what if he didn't have this conversation with me? How often do leaders do that? And so leadership and sustainability is around that transparency, that leadership courage.
I'm with you.
That's what I take from Ellis.
That's a wonderful way to wrap today's conversation. Me and a dear friend have always pointed to this punch in nose conversation we had 20 years ago, which is it's just that moment of frank. This is what you need to know, and you're not going to like to hear it, but it takes relationships to a whole different level. And oftentimes, if you don't give that feedback, you're doing it, folks, a disservice, right? So I love hearing that. What a great key takeaway from what Ellis shared today. So much more from what you and Ellis shared here today. But big thanks to again Billy Taylor, board member with AME. Also, make sure you check him out at linkedxl.com. Is that right,
Yes.
Billy?
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
Stay tuned for this upcoming book that will be released early next year, title forthcoming. And make sure you join the Billy Taylor fan club, which we're proud to lead the Atlanta section these days. But hey, most importantly, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the great comments. Man, I have to go back and read some of these. We got a book of comments. Wishing you a wonderful weekend wherever you are. But most importantly, hey, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. Give someone that frank advice that you need. Be just like Billy and Ellis. And on that note, we'll see you next time right here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.